Alright, so Ziva and I are out and about today because she had a vet appointment and we just got done there, and I wanted to do a real quick video before I go back home. It's snowing and it's, we got, I think, like 7 or 8 inches from last weekend, and then it's supposed to, I think we're supposed to get another up to 3 inches today, so I wanted to do that before it gets too terrible with all the snow again. But there's been some things this this week that I wanted to, I had a couple times I wanted to do a video, but I didn't really have anywhere to go to do that, and still feeling weird about doing it at home. Obviously I'm not home right now, so yeah, it's still kind of a little unnerving there. So yesterday, is yesterday where I want to start? Where do I want to start? Been having some weird dreams this week, and the first part of the week, it's like I don't even remember anything specifically from a dream or anything. It was more, I felt like I was somewhere else just having conversations with people or spirits or whatever you want to take that as. And then, like, when I was waking up, it was like I lost what the conversation had been about. I just remembered that I was talking to people, and I don't know anything about any of them or who I was talking with or anything on that end. It's just there was a conversation of some sort, and then and then I woke up. But then yesterday morning, I had this one where, if I can explain it right, I guess. Okay, so I had this dream, and it's like I didn't know if I was like on a car or a raft because it had kind of features of both, but it's like, okay, twin flame. Like there was this arm in front of me, like kind of going across, like up here, and I knew it was kind of a brace yourself kind of a thing, right? I've been getting a lot of messages lately about going with the flow, and it's easier to shift when the ground is crumbling beneath you, and all that kind of stuff. But go with the flow. Don't try to swim upstream right now. You don't need to exert that kind of effort for what's going on. Just learn to flow with what's going on around you. So in this dream, there's like this arm across, and it's like there's like a black t-shirt sleeve, and honestly, it was kind of like it was reaching through time and space, because it's like I knew it was attached to somebody, but there was nobody that I could see. But at the same time, it was one of those just kind of a brace yourself kind of a thing, right? And it's like I instinctively knew who it was attached to, of course, being the twin flame and all this fun stuff. But I just saw his arm, and felt his arm and all that fun stuff. So I reach across this I'm not sure if it's a car or a raft, because it didn't quite seem like a raft, but it didn't quite seem like a car. Like, stuff was missing for it to be a car, and yet there was a seatbelt. So I reach across and I latch the seatbelt. Well, okay, since I'm coming from this side, it's like, okay, so I was clearly in the passenger side of this thing if it was a car. So it was one of those things, just kind of support I wasn't in control of what was going on anyway, right? And as soon as I buckle the seatbelt and kind of, brace myself, I look up, and it's like these big, thick, black clouds just churning in front of me, and I'm like getting pulled like down this river kind of a thing. And it was just like something's coming, and you can't really, I don't know how you prepare for this big massive storm when you're on this little raft or in a car, a thing that with the arm reaching through time and space. Yeah, I know it sounds crazy. I just remember like the clouds were just churning and real dark, and I was getting pulled into it. And so I have this dream, and like I wrote it down as soon as I woke up, because obviously that seemed like it was somehow important. And so yesterday, I remember I took the dogs for a little bit of a trip in the car. We ended up taking my dad's truck because this one is kind of acting up again. And you know, the truck wasn't an option today. Otherwise, I would have probably taken it. But here we are in this thing, and currently it is okay, but it's had some moments that have made me kind of wonder. So yesterday we were taking my dad's truck, and I thought of a couple other things I wanted to get to kind of finish out my brother and sister-in-law's Christmas present, because I was still piecing it together, like as far as ideas for what to do with them. I knew a couple things that I wanted to do, and I had a couple more things that came to mind since then. So I went to the little shop that's closer to my house yesterday, and got those things, and the dogs were in the truck. And I had their seat belts moved over. It was a whole ordeal because, you know, of course it's got leather seats, so I had a blanket down on the back seat. Then I got their seat belts so they're not going everywhere, and then my dad had this little trash can thing in there that I think had some kind of fast food trash in it at some point, and they knew that was there because their noses definitely ain't broke. And I had moved the trash can up to the front seat. So I went into this little shop, and I was in there for like maybe 5 minutes, and they kept setting the alarm off. It's like, oh, there we go again. Oh, that's us. You know, so I'd click it, and then, you know, I'd go back to looking for what I wanted, and then they'd set it off again. So I think they set it off like 5 times in the time I was in there, so it wasn't there long at all. But yeah, then I had to pick up Gracie after I dropped the dogs off, and all was fine and well. The part where it got interesting. So Gracie has recently found out that I have a YouTube channel, and she's known for a little while, but like, because I had the thing on my TV, my YouTube account is obviously linked on that for whatever reason. And so she wanted to watch TV in my office at one point, and she turned the TV on and went to YouTube and was like, ooh, what's this? It's like, leave that alone. It's like, go to yours. Leave that one alone, and that's it, right? And so she knew it was there, and I was just kind of avoiding talking to her about it or anything. So we just kind of left it at that. It's just out of sight, out of mind kind of a thing. She's 8, so we can usually distract her pretty easy. But she had this thing. She was super student, and so she got the shirt. She got to, you know, her mom and dad had to write a little thing to help her class get to know her a little bit better. And then for what she wants to be when she grows up, she had a YouTuber on there. So she's been really hounding my brother about starting a channel. And it has recently slipped, since my brother and I have been talking so much, that I have one. And she was excited, and honestly, I probably gone up a notch in her book of cool people in her life, just because I have this thing that I'm doing that she wants to do, and is just having issues getting her parents to go along with it, right? So I think my brother has probably told her that I've been wanting to start one with him also, you know, kind of get him used to the idea, and, you know, through this whole social anxiety thing, and whatever. So it's come up. So yesterday I pick her up from school and we go back over to my parents' house, and all's fine and well. My mom had gotten this game to play, so we were playing that. It's this puzzle game or something. And, that was fine. No big deal. Nothing too crazy exciting, right? So, and I'm fixing pizza because we had her favorite kind of pizza, so she wanted to have some of that, and it had been a while since she was there, so we were doing that. And I had stopped playing the game. I told her and my mom I was going to let them practice because I was going to go wait on the pizza, because it was about done. And I think we played like 5 rounds, and I got the little pieces together. Like, it was the first time any of us had played it. I didn't know anything about it going into it. So then my mom reads the instructions of how it works, and we get the 5 pieces we need, and we're supposed to follow the little picture on the car, right? Uh-oh. My brother just started texting me, and he's telling me some kind of story. I just saw a long story short. It's like, uh-oh, and he said something about manifestation in the one before that. So that'll be interesting to see what that is. But we're playing this game, and like the first 5 rounds we did, it's like I was the one that was like boom, boom, boom. And they just kept looking at me like, what? And I was like, yeah, well, I said, I'm into puzzles, right? It's like, that's kind of what I do. I find how things fit together. That's something that I'm pretty decent at, I think. And so, I kicked their butts like 5 times on this. Like, I figured it out real fast. And then, I said I was going to get up and let them practice a little bit. And they're trying to figure out the pieces and all this stuff. And it's like, look, I said, okay, everybody gets the exact same pieces. You get 1 through 5. They're all, those have the stickers differently, but the 1s all look the same. 2s all look the same, and so on and so forth. I said, so we have exactly the same pieces. So it's not because you don't have the right pieces. If you don't have them where they're supposed to be, you just need to, shuffle them back up, try it again. It's like, you'll figure it out. And Gracie started figuring it out after, I told him, it's like, we all have the same pieces. You just have to figure out how they fit together, So then she started catching on to it. But anyway, while she and my mom were playing, and I was waiting on the pizza to finish up so I could get it out of the oven. Actually, I think they had just finished moving it. Okay. The reason that's relevant is Gracie wanted my mom to get on YouTube, and they were going to find the Hammy and Olivia videos. And so my mom was looking that up, and Gracie pops off with, "What's your YouTube channel?" Looking at me, and my mom's looking at her computer, and I was looking right at Gracie, and Gracie said that, and I just looked at her. I said, and so luckily she moved on really quickly, because I've seen her get fixated on stuff before, but I think she knew that she wasn't supposed to go there with that. And so we didn't talk about that, but she threw it out there, and I was just kind of like, oh, fuck. Because obviously if you've paid any attention to my channel and watched any of my videos at all, my family's not going to like what I've been doing here. And the whole purpose of my channel has been my healing process and navigating, how this greater puzzle of my life fits together. And there's a lot of healing stuff, and obviously since most of my healing has to do with stuff from family issues that I've been carrying with me and having to work through, Yeah, she's not gonna like it. I know eventually she will find out about it. She has the information that she needs to be aware that it's there, but I also know that the universe has my back. This is the number one thing. And that I am divinely protected. It's like whatever happens, whenever that part comes along, the universe, I have seen this for my own life many times, how I will pick something up and it will be in my head, but I won't be able to register it until I have the right pieces of information. And, it'll just kind of sit there with like a pin in it, and it's like, but like I can't access it otherwise. And like, okay, the thing that comes to mind on this is, the time in 2018 after Tyler died, I've been working on, I started the healing process with, navigating the fact that, okay, whatever's on the other side of death, Tyler would probably just know anything that there is to know about what I wouldn't have told him if he was still alive, right? So I started writing these letters to him as a means of getting my healing process going and working through stuff that I'd been carrying since I was like 8, and then realizing the stuff that I was blaming myself for since I was 8 wasn't even, like most of it wasn't mine to carry, or it had been misconstrued, and I was basically, because we don't deal with the issues, it becomes this whole different issue because then I'm the problem, so I took all this stuff very personally that had happened when I was 8. Of course, a lot of it did involve me, like my cousin coming up with dumb shit and spreading rumors about me that I ended up at 35 figuring out that weren't even true, but it's like, because I was unable to look at that information until then, it just like became this big burden that I was carrying of reasons that I was a terrible person and needed to die, kind of a thing. And when Tyler died, I started being able to navigate that. It's like, there's no point in lying to somebody who's already dead, because if they are there paying any kind of attention to what's going on in my life, they already know all the stuff that there is to know about this thing, right? So I stopped trying to hide this thing, and I just started writing letters and processing how it all fit together, and it was a big ordeal. Now, this is relevant because that was kind of the starting point on my healing journey. God, my whole life has been trying to heal, but I just didn't know what I was healing from, and so, there was just all these layers to this bigger thing that was going on. And so in 2018, right before I moved back to Alabama with my ex for the very last time to make or break it, we went out with his parents to this restaurant before we went back to Alabama. And when we got back to their house, because his mom had drove, I was staring at the radio. His mom and I talked briefly about the name of the band that was on the radio. And it was one of those things, it was exactly this. It was there was like a pin in this moment. And I remember having the conversation. I remember just kind of staring at the band name, and I feel like my energy was locked onto it a lot more than, me in physical world existence was able to receive. So I know that the universe, can put those little points in to where you're going to remember this is going to come back, but you're not ready for it yet. So my mom may or may not be fully aware of the fact that this is a thing. And I feel like she's probably not at this point in time, but at the same time, I also, because I got all sorts of stressed out after that, like just internally, like kind of trying not to get knotted up, but also kind of knotted up a little bit. And I sent my brother a text. It's like, yeah, so this just happened. And he's like, oh, sorry about that. He said, that's my fault. She was asking me about that the other day. I was like, honestly, I feel like I kind of manifested it a little bit, because obviously the entire time I've been doing this is something that I've tried to avoid my parents knowing anything about, because I know they're not going to like anything I've been talking about. And that doesn't mean that it's been okay. The fact that they're going to be mad at the stuff that I have been talking about on here when they find out that I've been talking about the stuff on here, that's not, honestly, it was my healing journey. So I don't regret saying anything on here that I've said, because it's how I'm working through connecting the dots and putting the pieces together, right? But I know she has this information. I feel like she's kind of had this information more than she's realized she has. But yeah, when it came up like that, it's just kind of like, ooh, cringe, so then I'm wondering if like the storm in the dream was like this, sort of, hey, guess what's coming? Kind of a thing. And yeah, I had some anxiety last night, and I told Ben what was going on, told my 2 derby friends that know that I have this thing, that they don't follow it. I think early on I shared a couple things that I did with them, but it's like I don't think they're really interested in it, which is fine, and otherwise, my cousin, but like otherwise I haven't been trying to build my channel at all. It's just, it exists, and if somebody finds it and decides that they're interested in what I'm doing or have to say, then that's fine, and it's been getting me comfortable with that. The bigger part, getting me comfortable with putting myself out there, with doing the scary things. But yeah, when I was talking to Ben, he's like, oh, sorry to hear that and all that stuff. And I was like, I said, in thinking about it, it's like, I know she's not going to be happy when she does finally come across it. And when that time comes and she freaks out at me about it, I will flat out tell her, just watching everything she's done with making fun of my cousin with her little TikTok thing that she's been doing. It's like, why should I have wanted to share anything like that? Especially if it's something that's been important to me. It's like, I'm trying to protect this thing that I've been doing from the very people that, ultimately kind of needed the protection from, I guess. Like that was the whole thing, though. This big journey of making these connections and realizing that a lot of what I've been through has kind of been abusive, and it's one of those things. It's like, it's not okay. I think one of the biggest things we can do to mess ourselves up is to downplay what we've been through because somebody else probably had it worse, and I know there are a lot of people that had it worse than I did, but at the same time, I also know that the stuff I've been working through has been stuff that has had a really big impact on me, and it essentially it stunted my growth in a lot of ways, because it's taken me so long to figure myself out, I guess. And honestly, as I was saying that, I'm thinking about the pattern app that I talk about on here frequently, that, based on my birth chart, for time and location of birth and where all the stars and where all the planets were when I was born and all these important things, right? It's like there's the current phase that I'm in talks about, it pops up on my as a message for me periodically. just a reminder, hey, you're here. And one of the things that it was talking about is between 40 to 41 was the big age range on this one. There'll be a lot of events to try to, basically get me able to dream bigger. The things it says right now you don't need to make any big life decisions. Right now it's about being able to have different options, right? And because of my birth chart, it says it takes you, or you pick up so much of what's in your environment that it takes you longer to get to know yourself compared to others and know what's actually yours, what's actually like the things that I'm interested in, all that fun stuff, because I have all these Cancer placements and 12th house Cancer placements at that, no less. A lot of what I've been navigating through has been stuff that I've been taking on as my own, but not aware that I was even doing it because I didn't know that was a thing that we do, because I didn't have boundaries. I didn't know what boundaries were. I didn't know the need for them. And now I realize that if I don't pay attention to what is mine and what isn't, then I pick up anybody's junk that's around me. And it's like suddenly I'm, feeding into this toxic family cycle of, my grandpa's obsession with his death, and therefore everything in life is about this man's death, so it's just, I mourned the man's death for 33 years. So then in August, when he was in the hospital and, he had his surgery on his femur after he shattered that, it's like when I finally, the entire time we were there, it's like he would not tell the nurses if he was in pain. He would say no, he was fine, and as soon as they left, he would bitch at my mom and her sisters and my grandma about how bad he was hurting. It's like, then why don't you tell the people that are capable of doing something about it? Is this a thing that, we can't own up to the fact that it hurts to the nursing staff, the people that control the pills in some kind of way. We have to wait until they're gone and then bully the people that we know can't do anything about it, but we can bully them, and make them feel bad about how much we hurt and all this shit. So stupid shit like that. When he got moved to the next facility, I had this morning where I woke up and I'm laying there in bed crying and thinking about it. It's like, I have mourned this man's death for 33 years and he's not dead yet. I'm done. The whole fact that basically, I exist because, okay, my grandma was enabling my grandfather's bad behavior. My mom and her sisters ended up coming into this cycle of bad behavior and feeding into my grandpa's bad behavior, because he's obsessed about his death, and he doesn't give approval about anything. He's extremely critical and all this stuff. And I finally realized that, this was all this whole thing was. And, it's like, I don't want to spend my life worrying about somebody else's death. Everybody on this planet is going to die in this physical form is not going to last forever. You don't get to just take it with you for eternity. But we're more than the body, right? And I feel like he never figured that out. It's like, that's why I don't believe in hell is somewhere you go when you die anymore. I think it's something you have to go through before you can actually live. And, I got to the point where I don't want my life to be obsessing about who's going to die next or any of this shit. So I stopped mourning his death. And, once I started really protecting my boundaries more and realizing that a bunch of this stuff was not mine to deal with at all, I was just naturally inclined to pick it up and take it on like it was my own. It's like, that's not going to work for me anymore. It's like, I want to figure out who I am. I want to go do things that I want to do, live a life that I choose to live. And right now we're just in this little messy process of deconstructing the old and dreaming about what's coming. But when I was talking to Ben, it's like, I don't regret anything that I have said on this channel, because it has been a necessary part of my process. And I think the fact that I'm willing to do this healing work where other people can find it, the universe is going to take it wherever it needs to go, whenever it needs to be there. And so if people can benefit from watching me talk through whatever stuff I'm navigating through in my life, then I feel like that's a win. And I feel like that's kind of the purpose. That's like the point of my existence is I'm not afraid to talk about stuff that makes people uncomfortable, and especially the ones that were kind of imposing the bad behavior too. Is like, this is part of my journey. Is like, I want to be authentic to who I am, who I came here to be, and live in that way, and not live from this place of fear of anybody figuring out what I'm doing, because what good is it to always be afraid of this thing, right? So no, I'm not going to do videos at home just yet when they're there. I actually thought about, just going to my office and shutting the door, and it's like, hey, if we could have some noise out there, keep them far away so I can just do this thing. I will get to a point where I am able to do that, I think. But right now, if there's an opportunity to go elsewhere, I'm going to go elsewhere, because I'm not in a hurry for them to find my stuff. I am also aware, however, that I'm not going to be able to keep it hidden from them forever. And I don't care, because the point is, this channel, no, I have not set out to destroy anybody, contrary to what my family would think if they, when they actually sit down and watch it. The point is, the toxic systems that are in place are able to stay in place because they're being perpetuated by people that are feeding into this system and not even aware that it's there and going on around them. So yeah, sorry. But, so that's why, I feel like I have to, I feel like that's the importance of me sharing what I'm sharing, is just the fact that at some point, the people that need it will be able to find it. And, the big thing, the girl in the dream that I've talked about many times from March, that was basically telling me to start going again. She said, you need to start sharing the story you already have to tell before more of your mission will be made clear. And, that was huge for me because that's what this is. It's like, as I've been talking my way through it in this space, it gets it out of my system, and I think makes it able to be witnessed by others and can help, lighten the load within the collective. Because ultimately, all we can do is what we're responsible for doing, and that's healing our own stuff that we've had to carry. And I think at the end of the day, the system that is currently in place is what's toxic, but it exists because of these other layers, starting with the family system where bad behavior is allowed to exist because people are afraid to disappoint the patriarch or whatever, and then she'll especially be pissed when she gets on and finds out that I was talking about him finally kicking the bucket. But again, it's like, that's not the point. The point is, this is just a very personal level for me to understand how the bigger problems of the world are able to exist and to be as they are, because, essentially, it's all kind of a dream anyway. So if we're only putting fear into the world, then we're going to see more fear come back. But if we learn to live from a place of love, then, we can actually put love in the world. But as long as the fear keeps coming in and keeps, trying to pull us back into the negativity, and that's another thing. Like, I've been doing a lot of stress eating here lately. And I think a big part of that is just because I can't skate when there's all the snow on the ground or puddles everywhere. The salt is irrelevant. I can run over that. But, like, obviously the snow slows me down. But, like, even walking the dogs, because the roads are, or where I would walk them, they're salt down. I don't want to tear up their feet. And I did learn that the hard way once with my little rat terrier a few years ago. And we went on a walk, didn't think anything of it until we get home, and his feet had little, blisters on them. It's like, oh no. So now I'm very aware of that as a thing that could be a problem. So we're not going to walk if there's a whole bunch of snow on the ground and, there's salt and on, the surfaces we might walk on, unless we're trudging through the snow and, Ziva's, her legs, she's not real big. So I think the snow currently is at least halfway all up her leg, if not more, and more snow falling. That makes it kind of hard to get out and do the things that I want and need to do. I went back to the Inner Path group the other day, and one of the cards that I pulled off this table, it said physical activity. It's like, I need to figure that out. I got to figure out what I'm doing in the winter when I can't walk the dogs and can't, we could walk in the snow. Can't skate like I want to, because, I got to do something. We did this little meditation at the end of the group, and we ended up doing it twice. And when we were done, I went to stand up to put the cards that I had drawn at the start of the group. I went to put them back on the table, and it's like, it was really dizzy. It's like, oh, that's not good. So I sat back down, for a couple minutes. It's like grounding. Here I am in this spacey place, and okay, there was this girl that I sat next to that I'd never met her before, and she kind of reminded me of my best friend of 15 years before we went our separate ways. She reminded me of that friend, and just personality wise, I think. And as she was talking, it's like I felt really spacey, and it's like I said, I'm sorry. She asked me about the video that we had watched in the group. It's like, I said, it takes me a little while to put things together. I said, I get the information, and then it takes me a while to kind of process through it. And just when we were talking about it, it's like I felt myself kind of being really spacey, and when they had the thing with, Annie had this thing one day where it had it was 4 posts that had copper going up the legs, and it had this little piece at the center or at the top where you could put a crystal in there, and it amplified the energy of it. And the day she brought that out, she had amethyst in it, and it was so weird because I felt my head being really scrambled, and it got to a point where I was like, can we put that away? I feel like I am literally scattered all around everywhere and can't make sense of anything right now. And afterwards, this guy comes over and asked if he can give me a hug, and he's a Capricorn, and it was funny because he gave me a hug and I felt like I got pulled back into my body. It's like, oh, okay. It's like, okay, so this grounding thing is important, and this is why. So if I do too much of the spiritual stuff, then I start getting real spacey, and I have to ground it myself. And so far, like, I'm noticing, like, the grounding, okay, when I need to ground, I end up eating really badly and, just consuming things to consume them, but not because they're doing anything to really help, unless, like, I had a span of time where I would have, like, get up in the middle of the night and, like, between midnight and 2 and have a baked potato just to try to ground my energy better. It's like, what the crap, man? So grounding is important, and since I cannot do the stuff I want to do with the skating and all that, it's like I gotta find something else to do that brings me back into my body. My brother and sister-in-law have a treadmill and elliptical. I might start going over there a little bit to use those because I gotta do something. Because the stress eating is not helping, especially like the stuff with my mom coming up this week. It's like whether she because it would be really easy for her to find my stuff when she is aware of it, and right now I'm just kind of relying on the universe to handle whatever needs to be handled, however it needs to be handled. And I still have to ground my energy in and be brought back to this physical realm. And I'm going to have to figure out a way to do it since it's so freaking cold and I don't want to just sit outside like this. So yeah, but anyway, so there's that, and I'm sure I'm going to think of like 20 other things I wanted to talk about when I get off of here, but I just really wanted to talk about that, and then of course I was thinking about like all the things that once she gets to looking at that she's going to learn and not be happy about, then that just took me back to that. Is this the storm that's brewing? And I think that'll be a piece of it eventually. But yeah, but if I'm letting myself slip into the negativity and, moving more from fear rather than knowing that I am always where I'm meant to be, I am protected, I am, my life has shown me that it's not just me affecting things, right? Like there are, spirits and whatnot that are guiding me on this whole journey. Even if it makes me sound crazy. Hey, I've sounded crazy before. Probably most of the time, but that's okay. But still, I can't move from the place of being worried about what is or isn't going to happen, because that just manifests it, or manifests something along that line. So if I want good, I'm going to have to start focusing on the good and finding a way to ground that back in. And we can go walk in 10 inches of snow. That's no big deal, but I mean, Ziva's little leggies might not love it. But yeah, we'll figure it out. Gonna have to. Probably just go run at their house periodically just to get back into my body, kind of a thing. And not move from fear. Oh, and I gotta salt myself in the shower way more. That's a big cleansing thing, and I feel like more and more I'm realizing that I can't just rely on the rocks and can't just rely on like the sage and everything. It's like I have to frequently clear that with the salt and stuff too, because otherwise it still gets, the energy is still sticky and blech. And it's trying to pull me back in, I know, but I can't do that. So yeah, trying to navigate that right now. Anyway, I'm gonna be asked where I was anyway, so yeah, who cares? Um, I mean, obviously I kind of do to a little bit, but yeah, but we're gonna wrap this up so we can go back home and deal with the other dogs being pissed at me as well. They'll throw the ball for Gidget. See, that was another thing. It's like I'm starting to see the bad behavior come out in her too. Like before, she was this little angel that didn't get into any trouble. We haven't been playing ball recently, so she hasn't been burning the energy either. And yesterday she helped herself to a bag of chips that she got busted on by herself. So yeah, the little angel has turned deviant, so we gotta fix that too. So go outside and play when we get home. But anyway, as always, I appreciate you, and until the next time, see ya.